Hello everybody and welcome back to an Irish knitting podcast. I am Sam, I'm an artist, illustrator and aspiring knitting designer coming to you from a very gloomy and cold Dublin in Ireland. If you're new to this channel, this is my attempt of a knitting podcast in which I like to share literally anything that is happening in my knitting, crafting world, as well as in my artistic endeavor. I would like to share with you some book recommendations or books that I've been reading. And anything that is going on in my life. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. It really means a lot to me. We are almost to 6,000 subscribers to this channel, which makes me explode with joy. It's incredible how many people decided to tune in and be part of my little knitting or crafting group. So welcome and thank you so much. Today on the show we have a few things to talk about. A couple of finished works, something I've been mooching along. It's a finished work that I've been remanaging, if I can say like that. We will have a work in progress, some pattern recommendations for very quick and effective Christmas present knitting holiday gifts, call it as you wish. And then what else? The usual suspect. One acquisition, a couple of books recommendation or something that I've been reading, and an update on my art. So without any further ado, let's get started with addressing the massive elephant in the room. And elephant is actually a good similarity because of the color. Here we go with the first finished work. This is a test knit that I've been doing in the last couple of weeks for Alicia Plummer. This is the Forester jumper for men. It's a test knit, should come out, the pattern should come out in a few weeks. I am not sure if before the end of the year or after, but it was just a big pleasure to knit for Alicia. This was my very first test knit ever that I've done. So it was kind of a learning curve and a work I say in progress, but for an experience point of view. If you've never taken part of a test knit, it's quite an interesting game. From an aspiring knitting designer point of view, I always seen the situation from the other side, from the designer who ask people to test knit for them. In this case, it was the other way around. I saw the post of Alicia on her Instagram account. By the way, all the links are below in the description, so check out Alicia's Instagram account. She is brilliant, a fantastic designer. I saw a post of a call for test knits for this gorgeous jumper. And I think one of Alicia's relative was modeling the jumper, and I was struck. I was like, Dad, I want that jumper. It's so cute, so beautiful. It wears so well. And I emailed Alicia, can I take part of the test knit? And she so graciously allowed me. So there's not much I can share on the pattern construction or anything. Please be patient, the pattern will come out. It's a gorgeous jumper. We have a ridge here in the middle of the chest, and the same goes down towards the shoulder. Buttons and a nice little collar. That's basically what I can share right now. The yarn, I can talk about the yarn, and I can talk how the test knit impacted my life and how I approached it. So let's finish with the jumper. Yarn, it's a Holst Garn Super Soft in this gorgeous little light blue color. If I'm correct, this is Summer Storm, but I could be wrong. It's a gorgeous light blue color with gray speckles and everything. Because the jumper calls for an Aranway yarn, I held this 3 times, knitting with a 4.5mm needle for the main body. Of course, going down in gauge for the cuffs. It was a pleasure to knit with Holstgarn, as it always is for me. I really love the yarn. It was really a different experience because I usually like Holstgarn held single, so I knit my jumper very lightly, and then when you wash it, it blooms and expands and become very lofty, but maintaining the lightweight as well. In this case, it was 3 strands of Holst held together, which one strand of Holst is 2 strands, so it's like a 2-ply yarn, fingery way 2-ply. So it was like 12 strands, and sometimes I figure that it was quite difficult to catch all this amount of strands together in the needle, and I'm not used to work with very large needles as well, so it was all an experience. You can tell that in some points I should have done better, like here there is a bit of a thing going on, and yeah, well, overall I really like it. I'm going to give this another wash in order to bring the fibers together a little bit better, but I wanted to show it to you and share a couple of pictures with the designer as well. Now let's talk approaching test knits. So I reached out to Alicia on Ravelry or on email, I don't recall now. She accepted my offer to be a test knit. She sends out the pattern and she creates a thread, a discussion thread on Ravelry. This is quite different from what how I approached test knitting for my own pattern, but I really appreciate that because in the thread, in the discussion thread, all people test knitting were discussing features and the yarn possibilities and modifications that they may wish the pattern had, and so on and so forth. In my case, I followed the pattern to the letter, and yeah, I just share my update. The thing that kind of struck me was because we had a 9-week deadline, I found myself obsessively knitting on this because I really wanted to make it to the deadline. I wanted my very first test knit to be a great one and a good experience, not just for me, but for the designer as well, and to be as helpful as I could with suggestion for the pattern and so on and so forth. By the end, it was a great experience. It was a bit tough on my own stress level just because I rushed so much to get this done in time. I shouldn't have. We have the test knit is running for a few more weeks, so I could have got through quite easily without any stress. I appreciate the designer patience with all of us and all the people that chimed in the thread. It was really an amazing experience, and yeah, I really love this jumper. I am thinking of making another one with a different yarn, a proper Aranway yarn, without getting to held a million strands together. The thing that I will do is raising up my back a little bit, because I find that this neck is always pulling on the back, and I'm going to give this feedback to Alicia as well, because I think it's a good way for me as a male knitter, to share the suggestion that I have for wearability. It might be that just my body is shaped differently, I don't know, but I think the back needs, at least in my case, a bit of more length. But apart from that, super happy with both the jumper and the experience as well. Lovely, so we are done with the first finished work. We can slide into the next one. So I need to read my notes because the name of this jumper is just impossible for an Italian/English speaker person to pronounce. So is Stjärnfall jumper. I'm gonna put the links here, and below you'll find the link to the pattern. It's a free pattern available on Ravelry in every language you wish, and on the Yarbo website. It's a pattern designed by Birge Berge for Yarbo. Yarbo is a Swedish company. And you've seen this as a work in progress, haven't you? But here it is, in all its absolute gorgeousness. The glory of this jumper is just unbelievable. The color work, it's absolutely amazing. I think these on the top are like a ivy leaf type of thing, and then there are stars, and then there are smaller stars, and then there are fleece pattern. Just the craziness. Let me show you the inside as well, because I think I could wear this inside out and nobody will flinch. Look at this. Like, I'm absolutely speechless. This jumper is gorgeous inside and out. I'm not wearing it because it's completely damp. I just finished it, blocked it, and yeah, I wanted to share it with you because it's a great little piece of work. So basically it's a bottom-up jumper, but we have features on the top of the sleeve. I'm gonna show it to you now, and then I'll talk you through because it's just wet and I don't want it to lose shape. Look at this. This is a kind of a saddle shoulder thing. Probably in my next podcast I will wear this and I'll show you what it looks like. Let me put it down, I'll come back to you in a second. Lovely. So for the jumper, the construction now. The construction starts from the bottoms and up, so you need the body. Cast off for the underarms, you need the sleeves, attach the sleeves to the yoke, and you knit up. Now, it's a raglan, so you decrease only on the sleeve side. So I don't know if it's a raglan technically, but you know what I mean. You decrease on the sleeve side, so the sleeve creates a sort of a roundy shape, sleeve cup type of thing. When the sleeves are done, you knit up the saddle for the collar, Kitchener stitch here, zip over here, zip under the arm. Bob's your uncle. Pick up for the neck, and that's it. It was a construction that I've never tried before, but I'm going to try it again in a thing that I will show you in my works in progress situation. It was absolutely gorgeous. I have knitted the second size using Rauma Finu, black and white. For reference, this is 401 and 436, black and white. I used 5 balls of black and 2 balls of white. Basically no yarn at all, considering that the ball is around the €5 mark. It's a very reasonable jumper to knit. Now, Finu is a sport weight yarn, for your knowledge, 175 meters by 50 grams in a ball. I have used a 3.75 millimeter needles for the main part, and then of course I went down in size for the collar. It's a much larger needle that I would use for Rauma Finu, but I consider that is color work all over, and I wanted to get a looser gauge because Rauma Finu behaves a bit like Holst garn. When you wash it, it expands a bit. And that gauge with that needle works out fantastically. The jumper dresses very well. You probably have seen some stories or some photos I shared on my Instagram account. It is amazing. I have no words. The color work is beautiful, the yarn is fantastic, and I can't really find anything wrong with it. Modifications that I made. Now, there are a few modifications. If you are familiar with Birger patterns, they are made out of panels, not as knitting in pieces panels, but it's all knitting circular. But you knit the front. Usually you have a line of purl going up on the middle of the body, on the left side of the body, on the right side of the body, in the middle, basically separating front and back. And the pattern is repeated on the back. So you always know more or less where you are with the pattern, there's no messing there. Now, I haven't done that. Instead of doing a purl knit on the side, which I kind of don't like, only because it stops my knitting rhythm to have to purl something at some point. And I like the body to be quite fast. I just knitted a black knit stitch at the side. So that is not really a modification, but it is a modification somehow, because the pattern I just follow the same way, just that I don't stop thinking I have to purl, so I move my yarn on the back and do all of that. It's just for a speediness, a fastness point of view, and that worked out fantastically for me. Size-wise as well, I don't repute myself as a tall person by any sort of the imagination. I'm about 185 in height, and I found that the pattern was pretty short in terms of bust length and arms, so I lengthened that quite a bit. I added short rows on the back, which are in the pattern, but not as many as to give me a raised back neck. You see, the issue that I have with this jumper is the exact same that I have with all the other jumpers. So I know that I need to add a couple more of short rows of the ones that are already in the pattern, and that works out fine. What else? Cast on, I use Italian or tubular cast on, and bind off, I didn't bind off anything. So Bob's your uncle. The collar, yeah. The pattern tells you to make a ribbed collar, high ribbed collar. I don't use turtlenecks at all. The camera just stopped completely. I suppose the card is quite full, so I need to be very careful not to lose everything here. But I was talking about the collar. I don't use turtlenecks, so I just knit it up to 6-7 centimeters, folded in, and pick up stitches and bound off in the inside to make a folded in neck. That's what it was. This is it with my finished work. Let me change this and I'll come back to you with the works in progresses and the rest of the situation. So, you've seen this jumper before. This is sweater number 29 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And as you can tell, I have made some modifications from last time. The first bigger one is to lengthen the sleeve by one repeat of the cable. The second modification is to add elastic everywhere. You remember seeing these cuffs being very slouchy? Well, I solved that with adding elastic on the inside. It's just a very thin elastic thread. You can sew it in the inside Works very well. Now the jumper is really wearable. I will probably end up adding a few rows of elastic on my neck as well. To lengthen the sleeves, I was torn between just cutting off, picking up stitches and go on, but I was afraid that with the cable pattern it would look a bit messy. So the thing that I've done is just unraveling. Simple as that. Unraveled the sleeves, pick up the stitches and then knit up. That makes it much more wearable and the fit is gorgeous. I have had a full discussion on this pattern on my previous podcast. I will link it below if you want to check it out. So yeah, it's one of the greatest pattern of 2024, I think. The yarn that I used is Drops Daisy, and we'll get into a small acquisition here because I bought more Drops Daisy. I think this is quite fast becoming one of my favorite DK yarns because it's just very soft, doesn't itch at all. It's basically, the feeling is like a feeling of cotton, but being wool, meaning it's very warm, it's soft, it's a great yarn. I'm absolutely astonished. I was tempted, because of all the issues with Drops as a company, I was tempted to get some Double Sunday. Is that the one that I'm thinking of? So basically a merino non-superwash yarn like the Drops Daisy, but apart from the fact that I have to import it from abroad, the cost is just too much, so I decided to stick for Drops, and it's a great yarn. I'm very sorry if some behavior of the companies is not the greatest. I won't get into that, I promise, but if you think about other companies like Coca-Cola, I'm sure they've done bad things and good things. One good thing that Drops is doing is this yarn here. This is Merino Super Soft, Merino non-superwash. It's a DK yarn. We have 110 meters by 50 grams. Being non-superwash, it prevented all the issues that I have with superwash, meaning that where you need to superwash is absolutely gorgeous. You wash it, it spreads, it becomes wide and awful, so I don't really like it. This stays in shape. Now, some people mention that it's a very bad quality yarn in the wearing side. Well, I don't know if it can be a testament of the quality of the yarn, but I've been wearing this jumper all last week and I didn't really see anything. Like usually I get peeling under the arm and you can't really see any peeling so far. Now it's been only a week of wear. I'm sure some peeling will appear. It appears with every yarn, but I was expecting from the comments that I received that this will be destroyed in a matter of days, but it's not. It's a good yarn, at least for my taste. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with this. So I got a jumper quantity of this, and I'm looking for a nice pattern to knit up. If you have any recommendation, please let me know. I just don't want to get back to knit another of these, which is an option in fairness, or another Billy pullover, which I have about 5 of them now. Let me know. I'm looking for a nice, possibly cable, I'm saying that with a hint of doubt, jumper. Perhaps knitted in the round, absolutely knitted in the round. I don't want anything that is knitted in pieces, not my cup of tea. let me know in the comments. I'm looking forward to hear your recommendations. It's amazing. I can't wait to start knitting on this. But talking about can't wait to knit on this, I have a bundle here of stuff. So this is a new project I am starting, and it's complicated to show you because it's on very small needles. I have a piece of a yoke here. This is this one. This is a pattern from Yarbo 92609. It's another free pattern. I have attempted this gorgeous jumper before, but I really couldn't figure out the way the jumper is knitted. So it's a free pattern. I can talk freely about the pattern. So it starts from the back of the neck, and it gives you instruction to knit this. So basically the back there. It's a piece of a neck and a saddle for the shoulder. Then the pattern somehow, I figure, tells how to pick up these stitches and knit the other side mirroring, which is this. You end up at this point of the pattern, you knit across, pick up the stitches, knit for the collar, pick up stitches, knit across, and pick up stitches on the back. So then this stays on the back here, and you knit the front of the collar with cast on stitches. Now I had to make this because the pattern is so badly translated and confusing to understand that it was a nightmare. I tried this before many times and without any result. But this time I sat down, I was like, I need to make this work. And I read through all the comments on Ravelry, all the modifications that people have made, looked through all the pictures that people shared, and I came out to basically retranslate the pattern and get the way it works. Now I am going through knitting the yoke at this point. It works like a raglan, so at the four corner you increase a different speed as the pattern tells you. I'm doing a color work. I'm doing a color work of a Christmas jumper, like I think a reindeer. Is pretty much of a freehand type of a color work. I'm coming up with taking from other Yarbo patterns, other things that I made up. It's gonna become a massive Christmas jumper, probably an ugly Christmas jumper situation. I'm knitting with the rest of the raw mustache that I have. I probably will need more of the yarn because I don't really have much left in stock, but we'll see how it goes. With this project I am planning to make a little bit of a vlogmas type of videos, so a little update every day wrapping up to Christmas Day, and hopefully we'll get a finished work. Of course I am pre-recording my episode because I really want this to be finished by Christmas, and I really want to have the time to block it to make any modifications and so on and so forth. It's basically coming up as a saddle shoulder raglan-y thing. I have no idea. The pattern picture looks amazing. I can tell that it's probably going to be too wide on the body thing. I don't really like the way the sleeves attach to the bottom of the body, the bust. But that is a simple modification that I can make, and the color work will be just across the chest, starting from the very top here across the chest, I probably will get across the sleeves as well. I have no clue. It's absolutely a work in progress. But if you're interested in looking through this, please follow my Advent vlogmas coming up in December. I'll be really happy to have all of your recommendations, and if you want to join me, it's a free pattern, so why not? It's a nice jumper, and I will share with you the color work design as well as we go through. I'm having issue with the camera. We may need to start recording on the phone at some point. Anyway, there was a lot of talking for this little segment of the podcast, and I'm noticing that the camera is focusing on that lady over there. This is the Sibylla something, is a picture by Michelangelo out of the Sistine Chapel in Rome, and as you can see, it says here on the top, "Perché non state zitti?" Why don't you shut up? I let you judge the meaning of that or take your conclusions. Over here I have a post-it, because underneath that picture there is a very rude sign. It says on the print, "Grazie a tutti," which means thanks all, thank you all. It's an Italian flag, and this rude gesture, which is actually a statue in front of the stock exchange in Milan. Anyway, I just wanted to share with you because I'm sure someone will ask eventually in the comments. Now, I promised to you a couple of pattern recommendations for Christmas gifts. Let me get you a background about these patterns. These are my patterns. I need to promote a little bit my patterns. I know they are just a couple of euros just to make this happen. So if you wanna get one of these patterns, you file them on Ravelry or Lovecraft. I picked 3 patterns that are easy to knit, quick to knit, because we only have a few weeks for Christmas, so our presents needs to be done in a quick motion. And they are very good if you knit for a non-knit-worthy person. Why so? Happens to everybody. Don't make that face, because it happens to everybody that you knit something you as a present, as a gift, and you give to a person. The person is like, "Oh yeah, thank you, it's lovely," and you never seen them wearing it, and they don't make the face that you, or they don't show as much emotion as you hope they would have. You know, us knitters know how much time, how much money, how much emotion we put into our work, and when we gift something, especially to someone that doesn't knit or is not knit worthy, it's always a gamble, and I know that happened to everybody here, so yeah, we know that. So I thought that these patterns that I'm showing you are nice patterns that have an everyday use. They are not too nitty, and even if people don't use them, don't like them too much, it's just a very quick knit, shows love. I think people will use them because they are very functional. So let's start from the very first. These are my felted mittens. It's a pattern I designed for skiing. It's knitted up with drops alpaca, an Aranway drops yarn, an Aranway yarn that is woolly. They are left and right. Very quick to knit and very easy to knit. Then you take them, you chuck it into the washing machine, and then you block them. To block them, I recommend using the back of a sock blocker. You put it inside, you stretch them a bit, and then they keep the actual shape. They are very quick. Once again, they take basically 3 or 4 balls tops of yarn. They are not very yarn consuming. They come in different sizes, and I think they are just very useful. I made them for skiing because they are waterproof, while they when they felt, they become water repellent. They are really warm, and yeah, they're just simple but great. Everybody will use them, and they are indestructible. I used them skiing last year, and they still look perfect. So this is the felted mittens, my first pattern recommendation that I have for you. I think if you have a good speed of knitting, you can make both of them in 2 days, like nothing basically. The bigger part is letting them felt and dry completely, but that's one of the patterns that I would recommend you. You can find this on my Ravelry page. I'll put the link as well below. The next one is a hot bottle cover with a nice little colorwork design on the top. And you can see here, it's very well used, because this winter I realized how lovely it is to have a hot bottle on your lap when you're reading in the evening, or chuck it into your bed and then find the bed warm. It's been quite cold over here lately, so it's probably the first year that I've been using a hot water bottle consistently. It's knitted in decay way yarn. It's very nice, easy. You knit this up in a day probably, and yeah, the pattern tells you the sizes, the different sizes of the bottle, as well as explains the color work. I think this will be a great present for people that are not knit-worthy, once again, but you know, they enjoy a cozy little things, and you can work any color work that you wish, but I recommend this one because it's just quite pretty as well. Cord this in my Instagram, in my Ravelry shop. By the way, did you know that hot bottles have an expiring date? I have no idea. I don't know if you can see inside here somewhere. There is a little circle with dots. And that circle tells you the year and the month of expiring. I have no idea of that. I think I saw someone on Instagram mentioning it, and I was like, oh my god, I need to check if this is actually true. And it's true. Basically, it expires because it's made out of rubber, and the rubber apparently screech in time and may explode, so check your hot water bottle for expiring date. That's quite an interesting thing. The last one is this massive scarf. This is the pennies scarf, which is massive, and massive. You don't need to knit it so big as I have done. It's a double knit scarf with tassels. So double knit is a technique that allows you to get the same design without floats, with interchanging color on one side and on the other side. You can see here. It's a gorgeous soft pattern scarf knitted in sock yarn. So if you have 2 sock yarns and you want to try this pattern, now it's a bit more lengthy than the other 2 that I showed you, but it's a really effective. Is one of my favorite patterns that I have out there. it's just gorgeous. Like the colors are beautiful, and you can turn it as you want. It's a color work, so I'm always bothered with colorwork scarf because they show floats on one side. So if I tuck it in like this, or I put it around my neck, there's always a piece of the other color showing up, and it bothers me to see the floats, basically. So the technique is quite interesting. It's a bit of a lengthy process, but as you get the hang of it, you just fly, and it works out fantastically. It's a penny scarf because it reminds me of, or I was inspired by those huge scarves that over Christmas Pennies is selling here in Ireland. I think you know Pennies as Primark or Primark. It's an Irish brand that makes quite inexpensive clothing, and I remember the first few years that I came here and I moved to Ireland, Pennies or Primark wasn't in Italy. So my mom always asked me to bring home scarves, and my granny bringing home these big scarves from Pennies to use as a scarf, as shawls, or so on and so forth. At the point that I found out, and don't tell anybody, that my grandmother, my granny, one Christmas, she asked me for 5 scarves. I was like, what is she doing with 5 different scarves from Pennies? And she basically was selling them to her friends over bingo. It's absolutely crazy. So she was bringing these scarves in the bingo hall, bingo room, I don't know how you call it, and she basically was selling them to her friends. Would you believe? One of her friends saw the scarf she had, and they wanted one, and my grandmother was like, oh, it comes from Ireland. And yeah, and then that was it. I basically was an intermediary for Pennies, but yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. Now, if you want this scarf, it's a penny scarf in my Ravelry shop. I think we are done with the knitting for this week. Now, 2 things I would like to talk to you about is an art update and of course a book update. Art-wise, I have a bit of a news. I have been for a couple of weeks teaching on Skillshare. Skillshare is a website, a platform that allows artists, crafters, people that have something to teach. And you have video lessons of me teaching you how to make, for now, 2 things. One will be architecture drawing with watercolor. This is an example of the results that you may have if you follow that lesson, going through use of color, of course, use of a perspective, use of masking fluid and all of that thing, how to achieve something like this, how to go out and about and sketch your own thing. And the other lesson that I have is about portrait in watercolor that will look like this. And this one is one of my favorite. So basically, the thing that I have with portraits in watercolor is giving this luminescent feeling to a portrait. And on this portrait class, I'll teach you how to sketch a portrait, how to choose a picture for reference, and then how to paint it in this style. So, ooh la la. I'm not sponsored by Skillshare at all, although I really wish. But I have been very happy to be able to film those classes, upload them, and I already have about 25, 30 students, so I'm super happy with that. You can find the links below or on my website, which is irishfarmart.com. That was it for the art update. The last thing is books. So thank you so much for everybody that chimed in the comments last week, suggesting me books, titles and authors to check out and read. If you have been following me, you know that I've been in a reading spree this year. I decided for my mental health to start reading more and more and more, and that became some sort of a daily habit. I always allocate an hour to reading in the evening, deciding to turn off the television and read rather, or mid-afternoon instead of my during my lunch break. I will take up my book and read for a bit, and that really helped me to get through the stressful work and to get some more knowledge as well, if you wish. So one of the books that was recommended to me, I was looking for historical novels similar to The Pillars of Earth by Ken Follett, that type of thing that I absolutely love. One is this is The Cathedral of the Sea by Ildefonso Fontanes, and I'm basically at page 220, something like that. It's it takes place in Barcelona, and it's a story of a serf, a person working the land of a lord that escaped to the city, and everything that happens there. I'm a quarter or a third through the book, so I can't really tell you much. I find that it's more difficult to read than Ken Follett's books because I suppose because it's a translation from Spanish, and it's difficult. It was very difficult to find it. First of all, I had to go to a second-hand shop because there wasn't any available anywhere. I tried to order it on Amazon second-hand once again because there wasn't any other choices. They delivered it, but I got lost in the post, so I got my money back, and I found it by chance in Dublin, in Chapters, which is a very big bookshop here. So that is going on, and from your suggestions I got these three as well. So these are books from Guy Gavriel K. I hope it's pronounced correctly, and it's a saga that is supposed to take place in the Middle Ages as well, in the Renaissance era. I haven't started them yet. They are brand new, and they will be my Christmas reading, so I'm very happy I have some books to read over Christmas. If they are anything similar to Ken Follett's Pillars of Earth type of saga, I will go through them in a few weeks. So it seems a lot of pages, but it's really not. I'm very much enjoying this. That was it for today. I think I've bothered you enough with my blathering. I thank you so much once again to have been checking into my channel and sparing comments and likes and all of that. I am very grateful once again for almost being at 6,000 subscribers, something that still mind-boggling for me. I can't express enough my emotions towards that. Please, once again, if you are new to this channel, consider to subscribe, give this a like. Check out my website irishfarmart.com, or you can find my knitting Instagram account at... The camera has stopped once again just when I was saying goodbye. So I was saying that you can find me on Instagram at an Irish Knitting Podcast, on my website irishfarmart.com. I will see you very soon. Hopefully I get some recording in this camera situation because it's been quite annoying. I will see you very soon. Bye bye.